Hey, boys and girls. Well, there's no note. I got it right this time. That's great. I'm Chris, Mr. Chris from Fortress. So glad y'all came back. This is our final lesson. Hope y'all have learned a lot this summer. You know, like I said, we've been working on kind of like developing these superpowers where we have more control over our emotions instead of our emotions having control over us. And in turn, when we take more control over our thoughts, then we take control over our emotions and take more control over our behaviors, and it can really improve our lives. And it got me to thinking about Spider-Man. And I don't know how many of y'all are familiar with Spider-Man. And when Spider-Man's not Spider-Man, he's Peter Parker. And in Peter Parker's uncle, I believe it was, told him something that a lot of people have heard of. And the quote is, "With great power comes great responsibility." So here we are. We've learned these superpowers, and with that does come some responsibilities. And that's what we're going to talk about today. If you get the activity kit at home, you should have this sheet. It says My Human Bill of Rights and Corresponding Responsibilities. And what this talks about, it talks about certain rights that we have. And it also talks about the responsibilities that we have to others. So there's certain rights that we have, that you have, that I have, as far as, you know, how we ought to be treated. And at the same time, you know, when we expect people and hope that people treat us a certain way, it's our responsibility to also treat others that way. So it's that golden rule, treat others the way that you want to be treated. So let's go through some of these. So I have a right to be treated with respect. I have a responsibility to treat others respectfully. I have a right to not let others control me. I have a responsibility to not control others. I have a right to accept my feelings without judgment, and I have a responsibility to accept the feelings of others. I have a right to stand up for my rights, and I have a responsibility to respect the rights of others. I have a right to express my needs and my wants, and I have a responsibility to accept the wants and the needs of others. I have a right to love myself unconditionally. That means love yourself no matter what. And you have a responsibility to love others unconditionally. I have a right to view my needs as important, and I have the responsibility to accept the needs of others. I have a right to accept myself for who I am, and I have a responsibility to accept others for who they are. I have a right to change myself. I have a responsibility not to try to change others. I have a right to set boundaries and limits with others, and I have the responsibility to respect the boundaries of others. I have a right to accept my feelings without judgment, and I have a responsibility to be non-judgmental with others. I have a right to make mistakes and even fail, and I have the responsibility to not critique the failings of others. I have a right to ask for help and the responsibility to offer help. I have a right to privacy in my own personal space and the responsibility to respect the personal space of others. I have a right to set my priorities, and I have a right to respect the priorities of others. I have a right to say no without feeling selfish, and I have the responsibility to accept no from others. I have a right to follow my dreams, interests, and passions, and I have a responsibility to support others' dreams and interests. I have a right to feel weak, and I have a responsibility to accept others' weaknesses. I have a right not to live up to others' expectations, and I have a responsibility not to place demands on others. I have a right to be forgiving of myself, and I have a responsibility to forgive others. And finally, I have a right to seek others that support my growth, and I have a responsibility to support the growth of others. And you may think of some other rights. and some other responsibilities that go with those. And I encourage you to think about those things, but please keep these in mind. So we've learned a lot this summer. We learned about mindfulness and relaxation, how to calm ourselves down through different techniques. We've learned about how we view or think about an event affects how we feel and how we behave, and that by changing our thoughts, we can take control of or change how we feel and also how we behave. We've also learned about how to deal with anger, and we've learned how to deal with worry. We've learned about changing unhealthy negative emotions, like really, really angry, to a healthy level of negative emotions, like being frustrated or irritated. And remember, it's not realistic to go from really, really angry to I'm super happy, right? So it's okay. We all feel negative emotions. But sometimes if we let those negative emotions get too strong and too unhealthy, it interferes with our lives and it causes us problems. So we also learned about being more assertive instead of being non-assertive or passive or being aggressive like that tiger. So I hope that you guys have had a chance to practice it, some of the things we've learned, and I hope that you continue to do that and that you kind of learn this new superpower. And I also hope that in the future, if you feel like you need a little bit of practice on something, that you come back and rewatch some of these videos and kind of relearn and get even better at doing these things. So I thank y'all for watching the videos and for joining me this summer online on the internet. And I just want y'all to know that I really look forward to seeing y'all next year when school starts, which hopefully is just right around the corner. And y'all be safe and be healthy. And remember that you do have rights and you also have responsibilities. Thank y'all so much. Look forward to seeing y'all again. Bye.